Weather Words is a production of The Reporter, Delaware County's leading news source.
Good morning to everyone on July 10th. And let's go back and look over my shoulder first, because I can say some of us got it and some of us didn't. Going back to last Friday, believe it or not, right here, we got 1/10 of an inch of rain. And yet I had people on Eastbrook saying the water was running down the road and it was terrible. I had people over in Delhi said, "Where's the rain?" I had people in Franklin saying it poured so hard I couldn't see across the street. And yet here we had a 10th. We had fog here one day where people coming around said we didn't have any fog. It's been just weird weather. And then we had yesterday, which I'll talk about in just a minute or two. But I really need to correct something that's been broadcast not only on radio, but on almost every station that gave any kind of weather going back to last week. Because they all said, July 3rd was the warmest July 3rd this planet has ever had. And then the 4th came by and said, July 4th was the warmest this planet has ever had. And then July 5th, it's the warmest this planet has ever had. This must be a new trend. Only one station finally fixed it on TV, and it took 2 days, and that was the Weather Channel. When they finally said, places where we have records. Because if you look over the past history of this planet, there were times where this entire planet was tropical. There's also a time when this entire planet was frozen completely solid from pole to pole. And this planet has experienced everything. What really gets me is this. If you're my age, and I just turned 70, and you might remember how your grandmother knew you were running a fever. She did this. "Oh, you're hot. You've got a fever." No one had thermometers. You go back to my records, which go back to 1892. And what did the farmers say? "I lost a number of my chickens due to the heat. It was very hot." But there were no temperature readings. The only places that had temperature readings might be a few of the universities and maybe a few of the big cities. In fact, we had some states out there that weren't even states yet. And I can also guarantee you the people in Africa and in South America and in Asia weren't walking around with thermometers writing down the temperature. Not only that, they had no way of communicating with anybody anyway. So please be real careful when people say never or ever or always, because you know what? The next statement's most likely false. And people were jumping and they came to me in the supermarket, "It's the warmest it's ever been." I said, "No, it's not." You know, people jump on me now. They seem to know who I am and where I am, no matter where I end up being. And they come up and they want to, "So what's going to happen next week?" You know, I can make as good a guess as anybody else. But now let's go down to yesterday. You know what? In driving around early yesterday, there were places where tree branches were down. And yet we had nothing like that here. We ended up yesterday with 0.46, not even a half an inch of rain. And yet you look at poor places like New Falls in New York, which lived up to their name. The whole entire place was underwater with white water running down their streets. There was even water at West Point. Part of the West Point campus was underwater. And yet we didn't get it, but you could go 2 miles from here and it poured. And then you drive out of it and you end up with the ground dry. You said, I don't get this. You know, one of the problems with scattered showers is if you get one, you really got it. And if you didn't, that's probably good. And what's up and coming for us? Today's actually nice. There's no fog and the humidity's tolerable. You know what? Saturday started out where the humidity was sort of okay, but it got to 81 in the afternoon, but it was still okay. Most people are really complaining about the humidity. Believe it or not, yesterday we only got to 69 degrees, 12 degrees below normal for that time in July. And today we might get to 70 or 71. A few places might get to the mid 70s. Again, way below normal. But wait until tomorrow and the next day when we get up in the mid 80s again. Boom. And that's what this whole weather has been for this entire year so far. One day it's like, I can't believe it's this hot. And the next day you put on a sweatshirt. I mean, There is no rhyme or reason to what's actually, in fact, they're studying everything from jet stream patterns to ocean temperatures to everything to try to figure out why is it so weird this year? And they're studying it. But that's good. At least that means they're studying it, and maybe we'll eventually find out. What's up and coming? Keep the humidity in here, unfortunately. And the next time we might see real pouring rain might be in the upcoming weekend. So we'll mess up other people's weekends and barbecues and things again. We'll have to wait and see. But just be careful about what you're listening to. Everyone seems to think if it's said on TV, it's got to be the truth. Maybe this much of it's the truth, but here's the real story as far as the planet's concerned. Just remember, if they said in my lifetime, I'd believe that. Past that, I'm not so sure. Have a good one.
To subscribe or advertise, call 607-464-4009.